We see Millie decide that this man's trigger finger is gonna be too much trouble, and Vash would be too much trouble. So Millie does the sensible thing to save property value by knocking a truck over into a building, collapsing the building, and they both agree that that was justified. This is the best insurance company ever.
They're willing to make that sacrifice.
And hello, welcome to Is That Some Kind of Japanimation Thing? A show about anime that remembers when you could only get it from a really small section of the video store, and what that means now. I'm Scott.
And I'm Justin.
This episode is brought to you by Hobby Link Japan, your source for many collectibles, snacks, and 18-plus toys and accoutrements, should you so need them. They have great private warehousing options, so you can bundle up your shipping. And they have, again, any number of things you might like if you are at all interested in Japanese collectibles, snacks, or, again, adult needs. You can also, I'll highlight the 1/8 scale Artifacts J Bash the Stampede action figure statue thing from Kotobukiya. It looks damn spiffy, comes on a cool stand. It replicates a number of key scenes from the show. Multiple options for the head, so you can have sunglasses on or off. But it looks real nice. There's 2 left in stock right now, so you should probably order it with the affiliate code in the description. Thank you very much.
Get on that.
Get on that.
I'm noticing a complete lack of Millie Thompson merchandise. This is disappointing.
We are in a gap in production, but I can assure you that Millie Thompson merchandise will be coming up quite soon. Quite soon.
Because, I Googled Millie Thompson body pillow minus sexy, and nothing came up, which is heartbreaking.
Oh, that'll break your heart. That will break your heart. So we have returned to the series, the original 1998 Trigun, and we are starting back up with episode the 12th, Diablo, written by Yosuke Kuroda, as is every episode, and directed by Hideo Hayashi. Did a bunch of stuff. Mostly, he transitioned into another show directed by Satoshi Nishimura. It's Hajime no Ippo. He worked on Hajime no Ippo, which is a boxing show that was pretty good. And obviously, he worked on a few other things. He worked on Cardcaptor Sakura, Ninja Scroll the movie. You remember that one? That one got advertised a lot in the blockbuster. And X the TV series, not X the movie.
Oh, well, no. Can't. I gotta distinguish those two.
I also have to distinguish with X the band. Like X 1999, the manga turned into X the movie, turned into X the TV show, and all along the time there is X Japan, the band. And it made it very hard to search for the soundtrack to one of those things back on LimeWire. Not that I stole music with LimeWire ever, Mr. NSA who listens to this. No, just it would be hard to search.
Napster or Kazaa. You enter the word X into any file sharing service, you'll find something.
Yeah, you're just
not
hosed.
An anime soundtrack.
You're just hosed. Is what happens. All right, so episode 12 is Diablo. We open up in what I'm going to describe as an incel dungeon.
I was also going to say incel dungeon it is.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Because we'll find out this man's lifestyle later, but we have a very tall, burly man who is being confronted by a also tall, but not quite so tall, slim man who, God, is dressed like an album cover. And he explains to the burly man that it is time for him to leave the incel dungeon to perpetrate his obviously justified, MRA violence, right?
Iron Age CrossFit gym. That's where
Iron
I was
Age.
going.
Ooh. Oh yeah. No, that's an equally good description. We then cut to Vash buying shoes.
Yes.
Vash buying shoes. He's very happy and excited to be buying shoes. We talk about some stuff. We get the opening theme. And Vash is chilling in the town square. He's just enjoying the afternoon. When all of a sudden, and he's having a daydream. He's having a daydream about that brunette from, the Brilliant Dynamite Neon two-parter.
Yes.
He takes some time to be a goofball with some kids. He explains the power of, the secret 7th dodgeball technique of just maintaining surface tension with your lips.
How does he talk while providing that suction? Because he's running a monologue.
Yeah, he's also explaining this. He is explaining the suction technique while maintaining the suction.
There are didgeridoo players who would love to just sit him down and get that information.
Yeah, like it's him and Kenny G, just the ultimate in continual breathing, I guess. Obviously, he stops his antics to buy ice cream for the kiddos. There's some sad kiddo who also gets to have ice cream and enjoy the thing. But then the spooky guy, who is dressed like some manner of album cover. I should say there is a skull on a bunch of spikes on his shoulder. He has some shoes that look familiar, if you remember me discussing shoes an episode or two ago.
I must confess, it has been a minute. Where will we know his shoes from?
The Quick Draw episode, there was a scene that was shown entirely. There was a scene where the perspective character was some shoes for no reason. And now we see that those are the same shoes.
Well, there you go.
The spooky guy has a bag. And he then uses telepathy, we guess. It has weird after effects on it.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, I guess it's telepathy because it has weird phasing and slapback reverb on it. Okay, my DVD has a 5.1 track for the Japanese audio, and they add a bunch of panning and fading, so I'm going from not just left to right, but back to front. Disconcerting? I think the goal was to be off-putting, and I think they got that, but not fun to listen to. And it only worked because I was wearing, headphones that could support it. It'd probably suck if you had a sound bar.
That's too bad, because, that's honestly the next level for me. I'm just running speakers on a TV right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Again, I think the onus is always on content creators to make sure that content sounds good on the worst possible version you expect someone to have. More movies need to be mixed for TV speakers. I'm going to say it.
For old TV speakers. Someone's watching it on a CRT tube.
Look, I think everyone, the entirety of Hollywood needs to just agree on a LED from Walmart from 10 years ago and be like, we got to hit this benchmark.
This is going to be the basic.
We got to have something. We got to have a 2-channel mix that works on this.
Please, Christopher Nolan, it would make me enjoy Tenet even more.
Yeah, Nolan's the big one, but I think we have a lot of people in mixing who just want everything to be. They want one very loud noise in a 3-hour movie, and that means the other 2 hours can't be that loud, and it's upsetting and weird. But anyway, beyond just the sound mixing on what this guy has to say, what this guy says is creepy shit. He is just creepy and menacing, and we think he's about to just kill this small sad child. And then he's like, nah, actually, I'm just fucking with you. I'm going to leave the bag here, and the bag has the shoemaker's head in it. We don't see that, fortunately.
What's in the bag?
Vash is arrested for being Vash near a crime, which...
Yes!
Most sensible law enforcement move. Like, we've seen Millie just pull a gun on Vash because it's like, well, there's crimes happening and you're here. It's got to be your fault.
She's got a hot trigger finger.
So Vash agrees to stay in jail because he knows that this guy with psychic telepathic powers is the real deal. He does not elaborate on how or why he knows this man is the real deal, but he knows. And we see him get the Batman eyes. He gets the Batman eyes. He's ready for violence.
Is that what we're going to call it? Because I did notice it was a bit unusual.
Yeah, his eyes just glow blue. Not explained, not understood. And then it's just the girls at the door, and we get a joke where Millie says nothing, absolutely muffin. Weird gag, but it's great. It's a great image, great reaction, Jive. Then we are reintroduced to our big man, our very large burly man, who is Monev the Gale, who is here to kill Vash. He's been born and bred and raised to just murder one man. And he's gonna do it by absurd guns. Just the biggest guns we've seen so far.
Excessive. There seems to be a point at which it becomes unnecessary, and he is past that point.
Yeah, just completely gratuitous. And this, I mean, let's talk about Monev the Gale. He is 9 feet tall and approximately 6 feet wide at the shoulders, give or take.
A lot of dude.
He has teeth like a military cemetery. Like they are all the same size. Like the kid from Stranger Things who only still has his baby teeth. And he's always snarling. He's a Rob Liefeld sort of face. Because he just is.
We have to bring up Rob Liefeld in this discussion.
This is the most 90s comics bit of this, because of course this was being drawn in the late 90s. And Yasuhiro Naitao is very open about being influenced by Todd McFarlane. And Todd McFarlane, as a guy who draws Spider-Man in cool poses, great guy. Absolutely fantastic Spider-Man cool pose guy.
A writer, he's a great guy who draws Spider-Man in cool poses.
Yeah, he can also write a Spider-Man comic, or even another comic with a guy who's not Spider-Man, or not Ghost Rider, in such a way that he would be in cool poses. But everything about Todd McFarlane is kind of bad and abusive.
He's not good. Not a great Canadian, I'm just going to say.
Well, I mean, he moved to Arizona, which says... Yeah. Name a great Canadian that moves to Arizona. Really?
Well, other than for the weather, because they're retired.
Well, he moved there for the weather and didn't retire.
Yeah. And now he has contributed so much plastic.
Much plastic. And this is it. So Todd McFarlane was a guy who used to draw Spider-Man real good for Marvel Comics. But he did it during the collector bubble, which meant that he was led to believe that the value of Marvel Comics was entirely dependent on his ability to draw characters in cool poses.
And then do 15 different covers for the issues of those characters.
And then do that, just iterate on that endlessly as fast as possible. And so a bunch of people who also drew characters in interesting and dynamic poses, characters who were less interesting than Spider-Man, I will say, all looked at each other and said, hey, what if we started our own company where we just drew characters in interesting poses with lots of variations, feeding the collector bubble, and just kept all the money for us? And so they all left and started Image Comics, which was an overhouse for a bunch of smaller houses that they all ran independently. Some of them
some of them more successfully than others.
Exactly, one of them was run ethically, and the rest were just full of cocaine and Sega Genesis games. And I bring this up because what's Monev spelled backward, Justin?
It is Venom. He is Venom.
Yes.
It all clicks right into place.
Yeah.
And I am not good at word games, so this completely shot over my head.
It's not something you expect. It's not something you think about. But like, if you go back through it, if you want to revisit some of the older episodes and see how Vash moves, there's a bit of Spider-Man in how he moves. It's more prominent.
There's a lot of Spider-Man. Spider-Man was a silly guy in a Western. him and Vash, indistinguishable.
Yeah. There's more of it in the actual manga if you want to read the manga, but there's a lot of Trigun's really informed by Marvel Comics of the 90s in a way that a lot of other anime just isn't. And that's probably a big part of why it took off on Toonami. Another big thing that happened is that when it took off on Toonami 5 years later, 2003, this episode aired on April 16th, if you need to know that, April 16th, 2003. What happens is that Todd McFarlane recognizes something about this guy's art style and says, hey, do you want an extremely lucrative toy deal? And Nightow and Madhouse and the production company say, we made our money in Japan. But if you're offering me an extremely lucrative American toy deal...
Dollars instead of yen, baby. Just another, a whole new life.
So this is it. The success in Japan is fine. The success on American TV is fine. But then they blow it up on the toy side with McFarlane's help. Because his toy team, funnily enough, very good at adapting McFarlane-esque character designs in mixes of plastic and soft vinyl. I've got 2 of the McFarlanes. I've got the Wolfwood and the Vash, and they're great. They're great figures. They did do a Meryl, a Millie. They did all of a bunch of antagonists we'll meet soon, including an original one, specifically for the toy line, that I love dearly.
Oh, for the toy line. I thought you were just casting aspersions on the
No, it's an original. Nightow, the manga author, designed a new, yet another gung-ho gun to be like, all right, we're gonna have this toy exclusive guy, and his gimmick is brilliant because the character has a giant revolver, which means the toy incorporates just a regular size cap gun. It is a functioning cap gun, but it's like, no, this guy just has a huge revolver, and I'm like, oh, that's a brilliant
tall doll.
Yeah, it's like it's a 7-inch figure, but he has a giant revolver, and you can then pick it up and go do the cap gun thing, and I'm like,
that is absolutely genius.
No, it's absolutely genius, and like Hasbro or someone should have invented that 10 years earlier to be like, I don't know, Mask Season 2 could have run on this somehow.
Well, I mean, Megatron.
Obviously Megatron turning into a functioning Walther P-38.
Functioning, quote unquote.
Well, a largely articulated P-38 is good.
Just good luck getting that on a plane is all I'm saying.
Well, that happened to the guy, right? That's the story. So we get an action scene where Vash is not pulling any punches. Vash, like he exploits. He uses wiliness and reflexes, and is just showing this Monev guy up at all times. He makes use of a bank vault. There is a sequence where he has a rocket, where Monev has a rocket launcher. We get the return, or the first actual confirmed appearance of the machine gun in Vash's arm.
Yes.
It is all cool all the time.
I don't know if did we skip it over, but there is a bit where Monev does rack up a significant body count.
Oh, yeah. No, he is killing people to get to Vash. He is absolutely targeting civilians to make a point, and Vash is getting livid, and he's about to break down. And he stops this after a fight that lasts an entire night. He pulls his punch at the last section, leaving Monev completely destroyed emotionally because, this guy was in the MRA. He was in the Tate zone. He was in the Tate dojo his entire life. And now it turns out that he could have been outside and still lost.
Touch grass, Monev.
Yeah. Touch grass indeed. Walk 10 miles to the one town with grass and touch it.
Wherever they're shipping the ice cubes from that one town.
Yeah. Remember how I said in the first episode that this show started out in a monthly shonen magazine?
Yes.
Yeah, so about a fair number of chapters in. Not too many. About about a few years worth of work into it, it got canceled. But it got canceled in the Monthly Shonen magazine at the same time they managed to get Madhouse involved in making an anime. So they suddenly had a canceled manga and an anime at the same time. So Mr. Nightow was told to move his stuff down the hall to the same company's Seinen magazine.
Ah.
So Seinen is for it targets an older demographic, teens and up, teens and up, and as a result, that shift in demo meant there was a shift in tone, obviously, to pair with it.
So we're going to be seeing that going forward now.
Yeah, I think the intensity and the implied severed heads will continue. It really fits that halfway through the anime that tone shift starts to come through.
Now, I will note that Mr. Thompson actually indicates he's related to Millie, but that's not the case. The face who works with Monev is named Legato Blue Summers.
Yeah, Legato Blue Summers.
And not Legato the cat Blue Summers.
Yeah.
That was a point of confusion for me.
Yeah.
Because I thought he might be related to the black cat that constantly shows up. And I'm like, oh.
No, this is Legato, like the Italian musical direction, which is to go slowly and smoothly. I think that's something to double check. Because I would have to look at how it's spelled in Japanese and figure out which one that matches up to. I'm doing this right now. I can fix this in editing. Oh, yep, spelled the same as the musical notation. I'm a smart man! I am a smart man! Ha ha!
So that is well done.
This is also a point where I will throw the dub under the bus because Richard Hayworth, who plays Legato, isn't very good.
Ah, it's a shame. Has he worked in other shows? Has he done other things that it may be that this one was just a scripting or directing issue, or is he just like not quite up to?
Sometimes you just run into guys who are not very good. Sometimes you just run into them that way. And this is still kind of the early days of dubbing getting good. So you just run into guys who are like, oh yeah, this guy normally only reads radio ads, and we kind of cast him in a smaller part just to fill it out because he shows up on time. Looking at his resume, he's still working. He's still working, so there's a chance he got better. He played Daisuke in X. Double checking the
Back
TV show, X the TV show, not X the movie. Someone else played Daisuke in that.
Got to keep that straight. Just for this discussion is putting X the movie on the bonus episode list now. All right, but it's not putting X the show on the 3 seasons down list or anything. Is it?
Break for discussion of format. There's a lot of just 90s and 80s OVAs and movies that are like, actually, we could just do these as bonuses and that'd be fun, and we can bring on guest people and that'd just be fun extras, and that can be something that happens further down the road. So we are going to flip the page, because that's how I keep my notes on pages.
Oh, man.
To
Very
episode 13, Vash the Stampede.
See, I saw this in the listing. I'm like, oh, we're getting some background here. We are going to have exposition. We are going to learn so much. And it was a click.
Yeah. So this episode, written generous word by Yosuke Kuroda, as is all episodes, and directed also a generous word by Shigehito Takiyanagi, who directed 2 episodes previously. He also worked on a bunch. He's our guy who has been just an episode and key animator on everything. He's done a lot of work. Yeah, like he directed the opening for all these. He did a bunch of stuff for Cardcaptor Sakura. He did boards on Ichigo 100%. What else am I seeing? Actually, not as much as I'm remembering. I might be confusing him with someone else. Oh, actually, no. His big claim to fame is being the director of Blood Blockade, Battlefront, and Beyond, And Dagashi Kaki, Blood Blockade, Battlefront, and Beyond is also based on a Naitao manga. And Dagashi Kashi is a show that other people are very excited about, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
Welcome to my world, Scott.
I don't know. It's. Yeah, I'll sit down and try to. At a different point, I will explain this somewhere else. But anyway, so yeah, this is the clip show, and clip shows are somewhat necessary to the production cycle because sometimes you just need to buy time.
Yeah.
And animation notoriously in Japan does not have generous deadlines, so when things fall behind...
You can't do a bottle episode on an anime.
No, well, you can. It's called reusing a lot of footage.
Well, yes.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of the bottle episode. They were a bit more justifiable in the 90s because you were like, well, you can't count on everyone running out and buying the laser discs, so you should recap the plot. You should. But they still happen now. A show I watched last year
was like... Still in the streaming era?
Still in streaming. A show I watched last year was like, hey, we might lose our time slot to a golf tournament, so we are going to have a clip show this week. So even if we don't lose any work if the golf tournament runs long, is what happened.
That does not disrupt the narrative.
And the golf tournament did not run long. International viewers did not see that episode. It was just on TV. And there we go. We open with the ending of the last episode. We see, once again, that Vash is happy to keep Monev humiliated and alive and just wander off. I don't know what happens to Monev after this. Maybe he adapts. Maybe he learns something about himself.
I'm pretty sure society has some plans after that whole event, after that turn of, he's going to have to serve a debt.
He definitely destroyed a bunch of buildings and killed some people. So maybe the sheriff just plugs him and we don't see it.
Not saying I'd be heartbroken. He was a jerk. Boo. Backwards Venom.
Yeah. Don't like him, don't care about him, doesn't come back.
Not even a cool, he's a very cool bad guy. But also a jerk.
He has like the dead shotguns, but because he's huge, these are like the anti-aircraft dead shotguns, and that's nifty.
My note for last episode says guns.
Yeah.
Because he's got two of them and they're very big.
So anyway, we get the opening credits, and then we cut to Meryl writing a report back to the Bernardelli Insurance Agency. We see what actually the Bernardelli Insurance Agency looks like. There is a dude who is their boss, and we open with the question, and this is an interesting thing. This is the most interesting idea. In our first episode, our question was, no, is this guy Vash? And now this episode asks us, no, but who is Vash?
Yes.
And then it proceeds to show us a bunch of clips that he is like, no, he is a goofball who is absurdly talented and committed to love and peace. That's it. Like, we don't get further doubt. The characters don't see episode 11 or 12 as a reason to doubt his commitment to nonviolence. It's just stuff. It's just stuff. It's just stuff we saw because we need to buy time or save money or whatever.
Have we seen Millie in her suspenders before?
Yeah, no, this is the dress down, gotta write my report mode version of the look. And then after all the clips, we see that Meryl and Millie check in on Vash in his hotel room, and we see some back and side nudity. And dude's a mess.
Not even the nudity. It's some body modification, some cyborging. Where am I going with this? And am I at all correct in this assessment? It was kind of shocking because we've never seen that there's anything amiss under Big Red. Until today, we realized he's been through some stuff.
Well, we see that he has some deep scars. We see that he does have a robot arm. We confirmed the robot arm last episode. And we also see that there are just parts of his body that are being reinforced with some sort of metal mesh. Like part of his ribs are just held together with metal mesh. And we saw, and this is it. We saw an episode, The Brilliant Dynamite's Neon Arc, that it's like, yeah, no, it's actually hard for him to be a pacifist. That he takes gut shots and has to walk it off. And now we are seeing that, oh no, the wages of virtue are heavy. This man could be clean and is deciding to hurt because he is committed to not killing anyone.
Love and peace doesn't come free.
No. And that's, again, I said this during the Brilliant Dynamite's Neon Arc, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot of anime that give us the battling pacifist, and they make it easy, or when it's hard, it's kind of bullshit. Like in Kenshin, it's like, oh no, doing the super cool sword techniques that Kenshin knows will kill him if he doesn't do it lethally. And I'm like, don't care, don't like it. Like that's it. Like but there are a lot of battling pacifist guys that just get to win. And here we see, oh no, if he's won, it's hurt. That's like, we get to walk away with that, if nothing else. I've skipped this episode every time since the first time I watched it.
I did have some observations. Meryl's report kind of reads like fanfic. She, I honestly could see that having just its own section, on Archive of Our Own. Just Meryl's reports about Vash's adventures. I think she just has a bit of a crush on him.
Well, we definitely see that there's a crush where Vash admits that, like, yeah, I mean, I don't want anyone to see me looking like this. I don't think any girls would like me. And there's that little slip. It's like, oh, I don't mind. Sorry, I don't think girls would mind.
And there's an ambiguous him referred to at some time. My notes were poorly done, so I don't know any details about it. But I'm sure that'll be clarified as we go forward in the future.
Yeah, we will get to the him, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Soon enough. And yeah, that's the episode. It's a clip show. We get 2 interesting bits in it, which compare that with the one episode of season 2 of TNG where, like, Riker has to relive his memories on the operating table.
TNG actually was a bit of a blank spot for me.
They make it's season 2, so they don't even have a lot of footage of Riker to show yet. But it's not a good one.
That's unfortunate. Next Gen took a while to catch its footing. More time than any modern TV show would get.
Yeah. I mean, it almost got its footing immediately after that episode. But anyway, flipping the page. Little Arcadia, episode 14, directed by Tomio Yamauchi, who worked on episode 2, episode 9, and he's got, a bunch of episode credits, decades of keys going back to not Victory Gundam. He was on Victory Gundam, but he also worked on Zeta Gundam back in the mid-'80s, so he's still working now. This episode starts with Millie.
Yes. Writing home. Oh my god, to her massive... Is she Catholic? Because, holy god.
I mean, this came up when she told Wolfwood that she had 10 siblings.
Yes. That is a bountiful family. I did actually, while watching this, mention to my wife that you had said it's supposed to be the same cat. And she said, so is it his cat and it's following him? And my head just went boom. Oh my god. Further background we haven't been revealed yet.
Yeah, this cat has just glommed onto him and will not leave.
It just knows wherever he goes there will be chaos, carnage, and rubble, all of which lead to feast times for cats.
It's a Fred Penner song, but even weirder. Oh god, I hope I was right when I guessed Fred Penner. Am I right on that?
I have no idea. I was just assuming you had a specific example in mind. I didn't think of it as a reference to anything in particular.
No, it is Fred Penner with The Cat Came Back.
Old Millie Thompson had troubles of her own. Still the little cat wouldn't leave her home.
I've been batting 1,000 on my wild guesses today. I'm feeling pretty good. We see that there is a call to action in the fact that some guy is shooting at some old people outside of the hotel, and the old people are very firm in their convictions, especially because they're hiding behind the most dangerous gunman on Earth. It's a great joke. Obviously, I'm explaining the joke, but we only see their heads in close up, and then we cut to the wide, and they're both hiding behind Vash's legs. It's like, I'd believe you more if you stood in front of me. We see Millie decide that this man's trigger finger is going to be too much trouble, and Vash would be too much trouble. So Millie does the sensible thing to save property value by knocking a truck over into a building, collapsing the building, and they both agree that that was justified. This is the best insurance company ever.
They're willing to make that sacrifice.
That is a sacrifice they are willing to make. All three, Vash and the girls, agree to be bodyguards for this couple because we have a classic Western plot. We have the classic Western of
someone's trying to run the farmers off of their land.
Yep. We have the robber baron trying to buy out the humble farmers, and the humble farmers are like, no, we are humble and sincere and will not leave our land. And the land is actually good. Unlike any other land we have seen, this has like trees and grass.
This has the grass, which the incel could touch.
Yes. And I'm going to say, now, I don't want this to be a CinemaSins ding, but I do think that if this was the place that grew tomatoes, I would just have stood up and cheered for days. If this was the tomato farm.
This is where the tomatoes are coming from.
I would have been so happy. But no, they do not give me the tomato farm here. So they establish a bit of the conflict. This guy wants it. Guys don't want it. There's some helpful townsfolk. Oh God, is it 7? Are there 4 friendly good old boys? Vash, Millie, and Meryl. Is it 7?
I think that. Well, I mean, yeah. When you add them all up, the 7 jolly idiots.
Magnificent. We see Meryl observe a child's drawing, and we immediately realize that the character design on the show is great because one of the things that you can tell about good character design is that if a child draws it with crayons and you still recognize it, it's good character design. Horses, terrible character design. If a child drew a horse for me, I would be like, that's a great dog. Hippo?
Never clear what a horse is. Unless it's like, oh, the Lone Ranger is sitting on this dog. It must be his horse, Silver.
Unless they're talking about Toy Story. And then it's Woody sitting on a dog. Right?
Yes.
This is it. Horses, terrible character design. This guy from the opening scene, great character design because we see him drawn by a child. And it's like, oh, that's that guy. Oh, there's a family connection here. And we see some more violence. The guy from scene 1 shows up to once again persuade his, now we know, parents that they just need to sell and not die. And while he's doing that, we get an explosion. And we get a thing that only raises further questions.
That only raises further questions.
Because we are introduced to the other half of the Nebraska family from episode 5.
There you go. I was a little unclear, but I'm like, wait, is the giant lady the mother of the giant guy? And I'm like, or is that her sister? Or is this?
We are given enough details to realize that, okay, 18-foot tall Nebraska son is the result of Nebraska dad and 26-foot tall Nebraska mom. That makes perfect sense, right? Big lady, big son, right?
Yes.
And then extremely attractive daughter for some reason, who just hangs out on her mom's shoulder and is just haughty and loud and boisterous and a fun villain. Absolutely delightful.
Yes. They're very good at drawing very beautiful villainesses on the show.
And great attention to her hair. I really appreciate her hair more than anything. And we have the 3 other Nebraska brothers who, for reasons that are not clear, have trained for many years and crafted specialty gear such that they can roll into balls so that their mother can throw them at great distances as weapons. And upon landing, unroll themselves and jog back to be thrown again.
Yes. I'm not sure how
this is their preferred weapon system. Not big rocks, not cars, not the aardvark kiwi birds that people ride. You could throw them. But no, they've all agreed to be murderous acrobats in this circus of mercenary destruction.
Family works together.
Yeah, that's it. And they just run back. They could pull guns.
Yes.
This could be a strike team where you shock and awe with the dust of the impact, and then just shoot everybody with guns.
Children, and they pull out guns instead of just coming back to be hurled again.
But also, I love it. I love this ridiculous arrangement. We meet the baddie, our robber baron. He has a terrible mustache. I think he has the same design as the mayor from episode 4. It's the same character design.
The same horrible dudeness.
Yeah, just rough dude. And there's a stare down. They're like, all right, you know what, old people? We're gonna keep throwing these same 3 guys at you until you sell. And they're like, nah, we'll die before we sell. We only have to hold out a day to arrange a land transfer document. Unclear how this is legally binding compared to the situation going on right now. But there we go.
The bureaucracy of this planet is... Oh, I do notice that the dad says something about yards of ship.
Yeah, I don't know what ship is. Yards
is it possibly material from the ships that each city is built around?
Yeah. Okay, so they do describe this as being on a geoplant, and that's why things can grow. So maybe that's part of it. Unclear, but we know that there is something related to the lost technology and why they can grow plants that are not tomatoes. Not letting this
Never
go.
Never gonna forgive that. Never gonna forgive that.
They could have given me the tomato plants right here. Made it all make sense to me.
Chekhov's tomato plants. Right
there. And everyone everything's tense, no one knows what to do. And Meryl's just like, no, I'm gonna shoot all you. Meryl agrees to understand the value of family, because this is an episode about themes and how people need to embrace their family.
Yes.
And as Meryl agrees to shoot everyone with her many guns, her many tiny guns. Millie agrees to shoot people with her one large gun, and everyone's on side. And then Badwick, his name is Badwick.
Not a lot of subtlety sometimes.
This episode isn't subtle. So Badwick is like, hey boss, I got the land transfer documents. I'm not giving them to you though. I'm just driving away. And a fight breaks out, and, the Nebraskans are like, well, I'll throw my son at you, motorcycle man. Obviously, that will cause no damage to the land transfer documents. Those can't be delicate. I will throw a whole person at you. And
a heavily armored person.
Yeah, just 40, just like guy and a half when you weigh the armor. And Millie or Meryl takes the shot, and and she feels as though she has won, but it turns out it's been Vash in the bushes. There was a second shooter in the grassy knoll. There was a second shooter in the grassy knoll. Back and to the left, and we get Vash suddenly becomes aware of the fourth wall, which is more of a Deadpool thing than a Spider-Man thing. But we'll let it go, because this is the silly episode. This is the last silly episode. This is the last silly episode.
Ooh, the last silly episode.
I will tell you now, it is the last silly episode.
Stuff gonna get dark, Scott?
I mean, I think in a better world, I think these 3 episodes get aired in the opposite order. So we do the silly one, the flashback one, and then the one where the bad guys escalate. But this is the product we were served.
Yes.
And everyone agrees that family is good. Badwick finds out that he has been named the beneficiary of the land transfer. Millie, or Meryl agrees to start writing to her family again. And we move on. We move on. We catch the bus to the next town.
Excellent.
Yeah.
A little bit of a highway to heaven situation. Always on the road. A little bit of The Fugitive. A little bit of all the classic traveling hero anthologies. Little Incredible Hulk.
There's a voice keeps on calling me.
Okay, honestly, the hobo was smarter than Vash. I'm just gonna say that.
Yes, the littlest hobo, a particularly savvy German Shepherd, much smarter than Vash the Stampede. So those are our 3 for the month.
That was a good selection.
That I don't know. I think I would like if I was to produce the Machete order, I would tell you to watch these in the 13. It depends on you seeing 12 first, but 14, 12, 13 is a better way to do this.
Now I'm on the wiki. I apologize. Yeah. I'm not trying to betray the trust of our audience. I am consulting the wiki while we look at this. I do know it says that this episode covers chapters 10 through 12 of the manga. And you mentioned that they switched publications to one that was, you said, an older one.
Yeah,
Does
an older demo.
Correlate with the last ones of the younger audience, and then chapters 13 and up were in the new magazine? Or am I just finding connections where none exist?
You're probably right on that. I would actually have to go downstairs and find my copies and just double check. I should pull out. I absolutely need to pull out my manga to refer to this now, because I'm at the point where my memory is exhausted and I just need to have the source material handy for these interesting points of comparison.
Looking at the wiki, it does say that it is the final chapter of the first volume of the Shonen Gahosha release.
Yep, that's pretty much. We'll clarify that for next episode, but yeah, that's pretty close. That's pretty close.
See, I absorbed the information and I regurgitated it back in interesting fashions. It's like a bird feeding a smaller bird.
That's really what podcasting is.
That metaphor is bad. I'm sorry. I am very sorry. Oh, God, it is.
It is.
Welcome to me puking pop culture knowledge back at you, folks.
Look, I didn't watch, but I watched a bunch of highlights from the fucking Graham Hancock Flint debate on Rogan this week, and I'm like, oh, well, this is what happens when you put an adult in that room.
Walked upstairs once and found my wife watching a Graham Hancock special on Netflix, and I'm like, no! Smack the remote out of her hand.
Like, I feel bad for all of Egypt. Like, just on behalf of all of Egypt, I'm like, no, Graham Hancock, I, a white man, apologize to Egypt for Graham Hancock.
We appreciate that. Yeah, he's a dick.
Fuck that guy.
Was not literally every civilization that was around at one point. He's like, it was Atlantis mostly, and I'm like, shut up.
Oh,
schmuck.
If you read his 4th book, he just says the quiet part's loud in his 4th book.
I'm not going to read his books.
Don't. I would say don't. I would say don't. Don't even steal them. This is far afield. Reminder that, hey, if you like this, you can rate us, you can review us, you can recommend us, you can
like and subscribe, folks.
you can visit our sponsor page. We've got a Ko-fi link in the thing. We'll try to get our socials started circulating in the feeds. But otherwise, until next month, we will talk to you.